Welcome to Conversations Below the Surface, the CBS Podcast Shorts. I am your host, Marcus Gentry, and we hope you enjoy this episode. I've talked a few times in the past about a lady, an older lady that I ran into in a grocery store once and asked her how she was doing. And she said, "I'm glad to be alive and in my right mind." Kind of tickled me because I hadn't heard that expression in a while. And all these years later, that expression being in my right mind has been coming back to me. And I've wanted to do a podcast short about it. And I've had several conversations about it. And this is definitely one that will be continued because I'm constantly learning and researching and reading and interviewing people and finding out so much about our mind and our minds that it's an ongoing process just to learn about it. So this short is about the other mind. Sometimes people call it the devil. Sometimes they call it addiction. They may call it the superior mind. Some people call it the first mind. And when I say the right mind being the other one, the other mind and the right mind, I'm not talking about it in a judgmental way like one is correct and the other one is incorrect. It's just that I'm coming to understand that we have a presence of at least two minds that operate inside of us and have been operating in us from childhood, with the other mind actually being more present early on and going more subconscious as we got older. I love what Carl Jung says in one of his quotes, that he says, "Until we make the unconscious conscious, it will continue to direct our lives, and we will call it fate." So this short is about attempting to make the unconscious conscious, to help us manage our moments by being mindful of our minds. So the other mind that I want to talk about, it seems to have two functions. One function is that of a warner, it gives warnings, and the other function seems to be of a seducer. And so let me talk first about the other mind when it operates as warnings. Have you had a situation come up where you said something like, "Man, my first mind told me to not do something, and that's what I should have done"? It's kind of a warning about that. I was at a light the other day. I was driving and I had stopped at a light and I was about to make a right turn. So to my left, there was a viaduct there, and you couldn't really see any cars or anything that would be coming from under there because the viaduct came almost right up to the light. So prior to the light changing, while it was red, I was on my phone, and something said, possibly the other mind, just get off the phone, which is wise to do anyway. And I was waiting for the light to change green. So the light changed green and I should have turned. But something said, just pause for a minute. And I paused probably at least 5 seconds. There was no real cars behind me at the time. At about the 6th second, a truck came barreling under the viaduct, ran the red light, and kept going right on up to the next stop. If I had have just went like I naturally would have when the light turned green, I would have been in a horrible accident because the truck came barreling through. What was that? There are some who will say, "Oh, well, that was God who did that." Some will give all kinds of names to what it is. I'm just going to refer to it as the other mind said to just wait a minute, and it saved me in that situation. Have you had situations where something said do something or to not do something, and you discover later that was the best thing that could have happened? I say it was present even in us, or that other mind is present, has been present in us even as children, because you can see children who, even before they have formed the ability to put together words and language, they're able to kind of sense that some people just don't feel right, and they'll start crying. You'll try to hand a baby to some people and they just don't, they'll just move away from them. They'll start crying or frowning or anything, and they can't put words together yet, but something instinctively tells them there's something not right about this person, and they want to go back to something that's familiar. And that same mind is present with us. You may have felt that way with certain people where something said, something is not right about this person, and you may have ignored it, or you may have paid attention to it. It's that warning. And interestingly about that other mind, it speaks to us in language, in terms, in a tone, using examples that we're very familiar with. So it can make us respond if we're paying attention to it. That's why some people also say, man, I should have listened to what they call my first mind. This podcast is about helping us to be mindful of that. But I say that it has two functions, because sometimes the other mind functions as a seducer. And again, it will use language. It will speak to us in our own voice. It will, some people refer to this as an addiction, the addiction that's talking to them, or the devil that's talking to them. Again, I'm just saying the other mind will say things, try to seduce you to do something that will bring you immediate satisfaction or gratification. Maybe it's eating something that you know you shouldn't eat. And the other mind will say, there's nothing wrong with eating that. And they'll give you examples of it. You ate it before and it didn't cause you a problem, or you took a drink before. You're a grown man, you're a grown woman. How somebody is going to tell you to not drink, not do this? You can do that. And they'll try to convince you, or you don't need to exercise, or you don't have to take your medicine, and seduce you into behavior that will satisfy you in the short term, but be detrimental in the long run. Sometimes it shows up in getting involved in clandestine affairs where you know you shouldn't get involved with that, but the other mind says, well, he or she's not going to find out, or I can do this and it won't be that bad if I just do this one time, or I can just go out on a date. And so there's all kinds of things. There's multiple stories I can give you. And you have stories yourself, I'm sure, of how the other mind has operated as a seducer to tempt us to do or to not do things that brings immediate satisfaction, to do that, to get immediate satisfaction, but it will cause consequences later on. So the intention of this message, this podcast short, is not to tell us what we should do when we hear the other mind, when the other mind is whispering to us either the warning or the seduction, but it's just to encourage us to be mindful of our minds so that we can better be able to manage our moments. And hopefully you'll be able to say, like the older lady that I met in the store said, I'm just thankful to be in my right mind today. Thank you for listening to this CBS Podcast Short. If you would like to hear more on this topic, please email me at respect@marcusgentry.com. And don't forget to check back for new episodes.